Hey, how's it going, Danny?
I'm very good, sir.
Doing great, doing great. Obviously, you got the NXT Tag Team title rematch coming up tomorrow night with Breezango. First of all, we're kind of fast-forwarding or rewinding, rather, to a couple of weeks ago. How was it to finally win your first NXT Tag Team titles with Oney Lorcan a couple of weeks ago on the show?
Yeah, I'm still kind of, pinching myself like, is this real? This is, for me, this has been the culmination of 17 years in the wrestling business. So to get to this point when, I'm holding NXT Tag Team Gold is absolutely phenomenal.
Was there ever a point, because you've been with NXT for so long now, do you ever reach a point where you're thinking, okay, this is something that's just not going to happen for me? Or you have the mindset, okay, it's going to happen at some point, and when it does, because it's been so long, it's going to mean that much more?
Yeah, so my whole thought process is until I hear the word no, anything is possible. So that is, and that's been my whole approach to wrestling for 17 years. No matter how long it takes, no matter how long I have to grind for, until I hear those words no, then I know there's always a chance. So, and that's exactly what I've done my entire career. So.
And you and Oney have, you guys have faced virtually every team that's come through NXT in the last couple of years. You have your second match with Breezango coming up tomorrow night. And obviously you've only had one other match a couple of weeks ago when you first won the tag team titles. But how does Breezango kind of compare to all the other teams that you guys have faced, from Undisputed Era to TM61, every other team you guys have faced in NXT so far?
Well, obviously, Breezango, they're so unique. You've got two guys that have got a long experience in wrestling. So it's not as though they're new faces or anything like that. So, it's, again, Oney and I, all we can do is just prepare as we always do, which is just we're going to knuckle down, we're going to lace our boots up, and we're just going to throw hands. And I expect the same result last night as it was a few weeks ago. The difference is this time they are challenging for us. And, we have the target on our backs. So I'm sure that they are going to be fired up right out of the gate. So it's going to be interesting.
When you guys have been chasing the tag team titles these last couple of years, did you ever imagine a scenario where you would win the championships as a heel team, turning heel in the same matchup, and then, getting revealed as being the allies of Pat McAfee that same night?
Well, all I can say is I'm reminded of a very, very, very interesting quote, and it's the definition of insanity: doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. So maybe it did take us. It took a different mindset to finally get what we wanted, which was the NXT Tag Team Championships. So.
And we've kind of seen a different side of you guys in the last couple of weeks with Pat McAfee and now Pete Dunne as well back at Halloween Havoc.
Yep.
Specifically you and Oney, it's a different dynamic with Pete, and it's so cool to see. Do you think this kind of new edge that you mentioned that you've shown with Pat in the last couple of weeks has kind of allowed fans to see a new side to Danny Burch and Oney Lorcan that we didn't see previously?
Yes, 100%. I know that from speaking with Oney and obviously Pete and Pat, the gloves are off now, so we are going to bring a completely different side to our matches, to our promos and everything. So it's great to be able to do this now. It really is.
How much different? I mean, again, it's only been a couple of weeks, but how different has it been working as the bad guys alongside Pete and now Pat McAfee as well, compared to being the kind of the underdogs for so long during your NXT run?
Well, I'm a natural heel, so this is. For me, it's just a chance to show a completely different side, and I'm very much looking forward to it. As I said, to be able to take the gloves off and just maybe not play by the rules, maybe not try and be a nice guy and find a nice scenario in everything. So it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Well, you mentioned it right there. You're just a natural heel. So, I mean, is this something that you guys have wanted, or maybe just you specifically, Danny, is this something you've wanted to do for a while now, try out these new characters, or do you think the timing just kind of worked out perfectly with the way that it did?
The timing worked out perfectly. So, this business, it's, you have to constantly evolve. You can't, and again, this is my opinion, I feel that the minute you get set in your own ways, you short sight yourself on everything, So it's great to be completely and utterly versatile.
And you mentioned Evolution right there, which is an interesting word because that kind of ties into my next question for you. You've been a part of the evolution, not just the Danny Burch character, but of NXT on the whole now for so long. You made your first appearance on the show back in May of 2013. That's over 7 years ago, which is crazy. How cool has it been for you to kind of be a part of the evolution of NXT since that time 7 years ago?
I mean, it's to me, it's astounding just how much it's changed. Because obviously it's a weekly television show, and obviously it's now its own brand. We are the third brand. So to see it go from being on the network to, the very first time I started training with this company, it was when it was FCW. So I've seen it completely and utterly change from, a small building in Tampa to the Performance Center. To now, just we are on live TV every single week. So to see that has been absolutely amazing. But also for me, it's been great to be able to, I first got signed I first reported for duty in 2012. I got released in 2014, and then literally fought scratch and claw to come back. And I came back in April 2017. Or was it 2018? Might be 2018. Can't exactly remember.
Yeah.
But so for me to, again, not taking until I heard the word no, and just put my head down and just work as hard as I could to get back. And I'm very, very proud to be a part of the growth of NXT.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because I think a lot of people aren't familiar with what you said about your journey with being in NXT, being with WWE, FCW back in Tampa, like you said, years ago, 2011, 2012, being a part of that initial brand before NXT became what it is today. You mentioned getting released in 2014. The interesting thing about your story was that we kind of still continue to see you on the show, brought back for some matches here and there in 2015, 2016, before you re-signed. I think it was in 2018. That's what I wrote down here. It was one of the two, but we had seen you on the show more often in 2017. What was that experience like, kind of continuing to work with NXT? Despite being officially released a couple of years earlier, you were still brought back for like the one-shots and stuff like that. What was that experience like for you?
For me, that was, that was, the door wasn't completely closed, so I literally wanted to do every single thing I could, within my control to show the company that I still wanted to be here. That it didn't work out the first time. Yes, I got released, but I wasn't going to let me crawl under a rock and be forgotten about. And realistically, it wasn't until I did the first United Kingdom championship tournament in Blackpool that I think I felt that I kicked those doors wide open again. And I pride myself on the fact that I worked my backside off and got given the nod again. So it's my some people will look at my journey and say that I'm crazy for chasing something that potentially wasn't there, but then the pridefulness in me is like, well, no, it was there. I just had to earn it again, and that's something that I'm that's the one and only time I will pat myself on the back and say, I earned that. So.
And the last time that we got to see you in official capacity in NXT was vastly different from when we saw you, like you said, when you were brought back for the UK tournament, the first one in January of 2017. So a couple of years had gone by. And I think a lot of people, anyone who had watched NXT long-term, that you remembered you from those early years of the show, wouldn't even recognize you. Physically, you looked fantastic. It was a complete physical transformation. What went into that from the time that you had left WWE initially to when you came back? You mentioned doing all the shows that you could physically. What went into that transformation to make you look as great as you have the last couple of years?
Yeah, for me, it was a case of, okay, well, I know I can work and I know I can talk, so I had to do something different. So the only thing that the one thing that I can control is what I do. So it was a lot of cardio, a lot of dieting, just getting my head right in the right place. Just so that I could perform to the best of my ability.
And it's very rare nowadays that we see, I mean, obviously now you're exclusive with NXT, but when we had first seen you in 2017 as part of the UK tournament and then later teaming with Oney Lorcan that year, I think, again, when I looked it up, it said 2018 that you officially re-signed with WWE in May of 2018.
So that was just before, so that was, I got rehired at WrestleMania, which is in New Orleans.
Mm-hmm.
So that was just before Takeover Chicago 3.
Perfect.
Is when I came back.
When you guys had the Undisputed Era tag team title match, right?
Yes.
Nice.
Yes.
Okay.
So I've been back maybe a month. It was about 4 to 5 weeks before that, and I officially started again.
That's crazy. So you guys are teaming on TV almost as a regular team, not as like an every month thing or like working enhancement matches. You guys were on the show, winning matches for a year, and it's not often that we see someone in NXT without a contract, an official exclusive contract for so long. How is that continuing to do the independents and doing NXT at the same time?
It was great because obviously more people saw me. Obviously because I was on, I was on the show each week. But then, so it opened the gates to get more exposure on the indie scene. So, I mean, eventually Beyond Wrestling became my home, and I was there each time. I was working all in that area, and I then started to go back home for Revolution Pro. So it was a fantastic experience because, I was getting to do that plus the indies, so it was great, I love to work hard. So it was a fantastic opportunity.
And right before you guys started teaming on the regular, I think a lot of people forget you guys actually had those series of matches against each other on NXT TV, which were just fantastic. And that's what led to you guys teaming. Did you know from that first match or the first couple of matches you guys had on the show that your chemistry was so strong that you were destined to team eventually?
I think it was because, sort of when I stand across the ring from Oney, it legit is like I'm wrestling myself.
Yeah.
He is, to be fair though, I've not been hit as hard by anybody in this business like I have by Oney. But again, it's one of those things, it was, born out of mutual respect. We beat the living snot out of each other, and then, it was, well, if we can do this to each other, what can we do to other people? While sort of teaming with each other. So I think it was just, and we do just have natural chemistry. So, it's a fit like a glove.
Yeah, no, definitely. And you mentioned it before, the TakeOver match, the Chicago match. I was fortunate enough to be there for both your TakeOver matches, the first two, that being the Chicago match. Just a fantastic match when you guys kicked off the show with Undisputed Era. And then the second one, too, because I live in the Connecticut area, so I got to see that one, too, at TakeOver 25 last year, the four-way ladder match, which was also fantastic. Yep. Were those, like, career highlights for you? Was that the moment where you were like, okay, I did it, I made it, or what was that experience like for you?
I still haven't watched the first takeover match back.
Okay.
Yeah. I can't watch it back because that night will hold such a special moment for me. Especially because we came out and literally got booed out of the building. No one wanted to see us. No one believed we could be there. But I think a lot of people just didn't think we deserved to be there. But then to sway the crowd and feel that momentum shift halfway through that match is a night I'll never forget. And then to just have the fans embrace us at the end of that is, I just can't put that into words. And then TakeOver 25, I mean, that ladder match was crazy. It's one of those things where you literally are one bump away from, potentially permanent injury. So it's one of those things where, you just pull your socks up and you get to work. And just, the takeover shows that the fans and the crowd and the atmosphere is always electric. So yeah, two very, very special nights.
Yeah, both matches were just fantastic. And obviously you guys had the chance to participate in TakeOver 30 after being on 25 as part of the pre-show just a couple of months ago. In 2020 alone, it seems like obviously you guys just won the tag team titles a couple of weeks ago on the show itself. But we've gone a couple of takeovers now without an NXT tag team title match on the takeovers. What have your thoughts been kind of on the tag team division lately in NXT? And is that frustrating at all to not get the more tag team wrestling represented on the takeovers?
It is and it isn't. I just know for a fact that now I will do everything in my power to make sure that we defend our titles at takeovers. So, it's, again, there's only so much space on the card, but I do feel that now with us having the momentum we have, I'm going to do everything in my power to get the tag titles defended at takeover.
And final few questions for you, Danny. Beyond Breezango, who we're going to be seeing you guys clash up against tomorrow night on the show, what other teams are you kind of looking forward to facing at some point, whether they're from NXT, Raw, SmackDown, NXT UK, any teams that you want to face specifically at this point that you haven't already faced or have faced before in the past?
My mindset is literally any tag team on any brand can step up to us, and I will thrive on that. It doesn't matter who it is, We've always had exceptional matches with Imperium, so I would love to do that again. Me personally, I would love to go have a match with the Usos. So there's so much talent in the tag division, So it's going to be really exciting times ahead.
And I forgot to mention this as well, but you guys were actually on Raw a couple of months ago in kind of a one-off match. I forgot who it was against, but you guys got to appear on Raw earlier this year.
It was Ricochet and
Cedric, I think, right?
Cedric.
Yeah. So you guys actually got to appear on Raw, kind of like it wasn't like an announced match, kind of came out of nowhere. What was that experience like? Obviously, there's no fans there, so it's a little bit different, but what was that experience like participating on Raw for the first time earlier this year?
Again, it's a huge highlight. Raw, Raw's been around since '93. It's the show that I grew up watching. So to see Raw on the Tron was it was absolutely outstanding. We didn't pick the winner, but I'm sure at some point we'll get to do that match again.
And that being said, final question for you, Danny. You mentioned it right there, kind of Raw, SmackDown, stuff like that. The obvious question for so many NXT superstars, are you looking forward to getting called up, moving to Raw, SmackDown, blah, blah, blah. But you mentioned it earlier that NXT at this point is a viable third brand. I mean, it's undeniable, 2-hour show, USA Network. It's a third brand in WWE. So is making it full-time to Raw and SmackDown kind of, I mean, it's obviously still a goal for a lot of people, but for you specifically, are you just, happy to be part of NXT with it still being a third brand at this point with no real, I guess, pressure might be the right word to move to a Raw or SmackDown in the future?
For me, I just want to try and cement myself as the best British wrestler from my generation. So, I came before Pete Dunne, I came before Trent, I came before Tyler. So for me, I just want to cement that, and it doesn't matter what brand I'm on, because I don't see us as you guys are just about a match. No, we're not. We are a undeniable 100% third brand. So I just want to continue to do my thing and just take pride in the fact that I'm one of the hardest working guys on our roster, and that's something that I'm always going to continue to do.
Definitely. Well, tomorrow night's tag team title match should be great. You guys and Breezango, NXT Tag Team Championship on the line. Danny, thanks so much for your time, man. I appreciate it. Best of luck with everything in the future.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, man.
I really
Take care.
Appreciate that one, man. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, man. Have a great day. Bye.
You too.